Damn. Rock and roll found me. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into NASCAR by the Numbers. Tonight it is just me, yours truly, NASCAR Opinion, aka Will Richard, however you want to go by it. Obviously, one-man band tonight, no Armany, no Crazy Man tonight. Appreciate everybody coming in. I do know that tonight is a big deal in sports, obviously unracing related, but the NFL draft is set to kick off actually here in about really the next 5 minutes. Right now, they're still performing. Technically, it's kicking off now, but NFL draft is kicking off. So for everyone, including myself, I'm going to try to make tonight short, quick, to the point. Have some fun talking racing. But I, like you, I'm an NFL fan. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. Want to see what's going on. There's big news throughout the NFL. Aaron Rodgers most likely going to another team as of tonight. So we're hearing that the Denver Broncos could be the new home of Aaron Rodgers, arguably the best quarterback in the game. Who knows? That's all rumors. But anyways, let's talk NASCAR tonight. We pretty much got 3 easy points. First one of which being we're going to talk a little bit about Talladega, what we saw on Sunday, some keynotes there, the top 5, things of that nature. 2, we're going to talk about a Kansas preview, kind of what to expect, race-winning pick. And then we'll finish out the night talking about how safe can NASCAR be. There's been a lot of discussion with Joey Logano flipping and, what can NASCAR do? Are we safe enough? Situations like that. So I kind of just want to beg the question, how safe can NASCAR be? We're going to kind of get into that discussion for a handful of minutes. And then, like I said, I'm just like you. I'm a football fan. We will go on and we will roll, and everybody will get to watch the NFL draft. So let's get started. First things first, let's talk Talladega. Talladega is one of my favorite races. I love all the plate races, whatever you want to call them these days, super speedway races. You look at your top 5 from the GEICO 500. Brad Keselowski scores, I believe, his 6th win at Talladega. Really, really good plate driver. I'll throw around that term. William Byron finishes 2nd. Michael McDowell finishes 3rd. So another great plate race for Michael McDowell. Kevin Harvick finishes 4th. Feels like that team has been nowhere this year. And Matt DiBenedetto, talk about him in just a minute. He rolls home with the top 5. But a good run for DiBenedetto. Almost could have been a winner. Again, we'll talk about that, here in just a minute. So looking at the race, obviously looking at notables, first thing that first happens in the race is you have Kyle Larson really within the second lap has to come to pit road. Somebody left an engine, like a plate, but I think between the engine and radiator is what they said, but pretty much it's a plate you put in there, you take out before you race. I think maybe it's there for moisture, whatever reasons it's there prior to the race. I'm sure it has a function or a job. They forgot to take the plate off. Kyle Larson's running over 300 temperatures coming off of turn 2 on lap 1. You normally never have that happen ever. So he had to fix some things, and turns out there was nothing to fix. Engine was fried. They're done for the day. Larson's out after 2 laps. Just a really weird, notable moment there. Another big thing is there was no big one, no big crash. There was a couple of medium crashes that happened. You have the wreck with Joey Logano, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, which had a handful, 3-4 cars involved. Same thing happening later on in the race with Denny Hamlin and Truex and some cars like, some guys like that where, just, again, a handful of cars involved, nothing too crazy. So really weird. We've had so many big ones as of recent, and it was nice to see there not be a big one. I think that was really nice to see. You had a lot of cars there at the end, a lot of cars you still had a shot to win the race. And if you see me peeking up, I do have the draft on. Obviously, we're here to talk racing, but, I'll be keeping up with the draft as well until we get off of here. But really weird to not see a big one. Really good to not see a big one, not have a bunch of cars torn up. Had a lot of guys with a shot to win near the end of the race. We're just really, really cool to see that every now and then. Joey Logano obviously had his wreck, gets upside down, pretty scary crash, almost pretty much lands on Bubba Wallace. Bubba was able to continue, had a fast car, had shots to win the race later on. But really, maybe the best onboard I've ever seen of Bubba Wallace's car heading into that crash. I mean, it looked just like a video game. And then the last note I had was, Matt DiBenedetto sort of loses another one, leading late in that race. And been critical of Matt Benedetto over the years, and I will be. I feel like he's one of those guys you can't say anything I'm not even going to say negative, not positive. You can't say anything that isn't glorifying him. I like Matt. I really, really want Matt to win a race. Great personality. Would love to see the emotion of him victory lane. And he had a shot Sunday, and he kind of gave it away. I don't know if it was him or the spotter. And I'd probably make a worse decision if I was in the car. But chooses to go up to the top lane, doesn't stick with Brad Keselowski on the bottom, and loses the race. Finishes fifth after, I believe he was leading coming to the white or close to coming to the white. So, yeah, it was on the final lap and just gave it away. So, hated to see that. But overall, really, really good race. I thought we saw some good racing. There's some things we do to tweak on the package. It doesn't take a ton of talent to run this package at the super speedway races. But we saw some really, really good racing, saw some big runs, saw some wild moments. And just the start again, it was a really good Talladega. It was nice to have a lot of cars left at the end of the night. You don't always have to wreck 25 cars to have a good race. Really, really good race. You had its moments. You had strategy. Ironically, the guys wanted to race really hard in the first two stages, and beginning of stage 3, they all wanted to relax. So it's kind of weird how this field works now. Talladega works, but overall, very solid Talladega race. Love plate racing. Can't wait for Daytona in late August, and obviously Talladega again here in the fall. Now let's move on to Kansas. Obviously, Kansas is coming up this weekend, and really looking. Kansas is one of those places where the cream usually rises to the top. It's a cookie cutter mile and a half. And your typical fast guys run well there, and you'll have a couple outsiders sprinkled into the top 10. Looking at who you really are looking at as favorites in terms of average finish, we've got the top 5 in average finish. Now this is since February of 2018, so this would cover the last 6 starts at Kansas for most drivers. So top on that list is Chase Elliott. He has the best average finish of active drivers since 2018. With 6 starts, he has an average finish of 6.17, so a 6th place finish. Second place, Kevin Harvick, a 6.83. So both Elliott and Harvick usually average about a 6th place finish at Kansas. Kyle Larson is the only driver in this top 5 who doesn't have 6 starts. Obviously, with a suspension last year, he only has 4 starts, but his average finish is a 7.25 since 2018. Following that, 4th is Martin Truex Jr. with a 7.33. Then rounding out the top 5 is surprisingly Eric Jones with a 7.67. So the 43 car could potentially be a value pick for Sunday, a guy that tends to run well at Kansas. So something you may want to watch out for if I'm not a big gambler, but if you're a guy that likes to do that, could be a value pick for a top 5, top 10 win. Who knows? Think about that 43 car with a 7th place average finish over the last 6 starts. Looking at the last 5 winners, so Joey Logano won last fall. Prior to that, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and Chase Elliott. So Denny Hamlin has won 2 of the last 3. Penske's usually pretty quick there. You're going to have your Logano's and Keselowski, and Blaney will probably mix it up. I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Benedetto runs fairly well. You're going to have all those usual cats up near the front, which leads me to my winning prediction, and that is the guy that has won 2 of the last 3 races there, and that is Denny Hamlin. We've all talked about Denny Hamlin. When is he going to win? I believe he has the most top 5s of anybody. Talladega finally broke his 8-race streak of top 5s and top 10s and whatever you wanted to call it. Led a ton of laps thus far. Probably should have won 2 or 3 races at this point. I think this is the week where he gets that. It's just some weird mojo about breaking that streak and then just bouncing straight back and having nothing to worry about. So Denny Hamlin, he's won 2 of the last 3. He's led 268 laps in the first 3 races, which is a fair chunk of laps led in the first handful of races of the year. I think this is going to be a place where he's able to relax, get back in the groove of things, intermediate, mile and a half, go out there and win the race and potentially win it confidently. So we'll see. I'm not sure where he's starting because obviously he didn't have the best finish there. I haven't looked at all of it, where he's starting and all that stuff. Who knows what could have happened. He could have won Talladega if he didn't get involved in that little bit of a crash, and then he had a couple of speeding penalties. But I think Denny Hamlin strokes Talladega off and moves on and scores his first win of the 2021 season this Sunday at Kansas. Which now leads us, it's crazy, the show is flying by. Armani, me and Armani are able to talk a lot. I always tell him, hey, man, it's going to be a quick show. Then it goes for about 40 minutes, and then we're like, man, we have been here for 40 minutes. That's crazy. So let's go ahead and get this here. I know, again, a lot of people want to watch the NFL draft, so let's get this final segment throughout the way. We've only been here for a handful of minutes. We're going to finish it off quick. NASCAR and safety. I want to talk about this for a minute. There's been a lot of discussion this week about safety. What should we do? Should we change packages? Joey Logano had the scary flip on Sunday, which it was a scary flip. Anytime these cars get upside down, it's pretty scary. It's nerve-wracking to see a 3,400-pound race car go upside down. You look at this package, and This package is something you could debate. The racing is very exciting. Probably the best plate package we've had in a long time. You can really pack up cars. A lot of guys have a shot to win the race. But with this package, I don't know. You could argue that it doesn't take a lot of talent to race this package. You could put almost anybody in a car that knows how to drive the car into a fact of being able to normally drive a race car. And they're going to have a shot to go out there and win the race if they get the right run, the right draft, this and that. And that part you always are curious about because you don't want it to be easy. But another thing about this package is we've seen a lot of cars get junked. Again, shocking we didn't see a big one on Sunday. Typically, we see 20, 25 cars get junked these days at Daytona and Talladega. But the biggest question here has been that spoiler. Everybody's talking about how, the spoilers are huge and it's causing the drag and it's causing this and it's causing that. And it's probably a room somewhere to look at, something NASCAR needs to evaluate. My thing is you can weigh both sides. On one side, these drivers sign up for this. They sign up to drive these race cars. They know the dangers. They've been doing this their entire life. They know what they're risking. Just like a football player, speaking of the NFL draft, a football player willingly puts those pads on every single week, knowing what is that risk. And you partially have to take accountability for that. You make those decisions to drive race cars at 200 miles per hour. And so there's always going to be a danger element, which is what I want to get to here in a minute. But I also see the other side that I don't have to strap in that car. I don't have my father, my brother, my son, my whatever strapping into that race car. And so at the same time, I want our drivers to be safe. And if you were to survey the garage and the majority of the drivers don't feel safe in this package, then I think you have to make a change. You have to be able to please your competitors. If your competitors feel in danger, there's a problem. We've moved away from the archaic days to where we should have to worry. Again, it's kind of a fine line. You always have to be concerned with driving race cars, but we're better than, we went 20 years without, a fatality at the top levels of NASCAR for a reason. We've done a great job safety-wise. We want to keep that going because we're better than those days. Those days are 20 years behind us. We want to keep gaining progress on that. So you don't want to ever lose a step in the terms of safety. But really the question I ask is how safe can these race cars be? NASCAR has done a tremendous job in safety, whether it's the safer barriers, whether it's the Hans devices and mandating certain safety elements inside the race cars, making this car safer just to crash in general, the foam sides, just a whole ton of elements that NASCAR has done to make these cars so much safer than they were 30, 40 years ago. I just don't know what else they can do. Obviously, you always are testing things out and proposing concepts and thinking of ways to be safer, but I just don't know what else people want NASCAR to do. These cars, I never want to say they're as safe as they can possibly be because you never know. Maybe there's something that's invented in the next few years that makes these cars even safer. But aside from wrapping everybody in bubble wrap and slowing the cars down to 50 miles per hour, I don't know what else you can do. These cars, I would feel safer in those cars going 180 than I would in a street car going 40 miles per hour. Because statistically, they're safer. The race cars are safer at 200 miles per hour than I am in my pickup truck at 45. And that's the crazy thing to look at. So I think you have to ponder the question, how safe can these cars be? I mean, just to ring a bell how good of a job we've done. Just four instances I have on my piece of paper here. Remember Michael McDowell at Texas in qualifying? I believe that was 2008 for Michael Waltrip Racing. Just obliterated the wall and the car. Walked away. I'm pretty sure I can't remember if he raced that week because I couldn't remember if he was qualifying to make the race. But obviously Michael McDowell still been around 10 plus years later. I wasn't even hurt. I can't remember if he raced that week because of qualifying, but if he was eligible, he would have raced. Elliott Sadler at Pocono, the hardest recorded crash we've known. Walked away, raced the very next week, went on about his business. David Ruderman and David Reagan at Watkins Glenahan, I think 2011, I want to say, 10 or 11. Just a horrific crash there. Both of them walked out fine, no problem. And then obviously we know Ryan Newman last year, the scary crash that was that, probably the closest we have had to a fatality since Dale Earnhardt Sr. at Daytona back in 2001. Ryan Newman walks out of the hospital 2 days later. And obviously you learn from that situation, and I'm not saying that's good enough. But How safe can you get these cars? Appreciate you guys watching from Alberta. How safe can you get these cars is what I'm asking. I just, we can talk about safety as much as you want, and always you want to develop that safety. You never want to give up on that, but you have to ponder the question, what else can we do? NASCAR has done such a tremendous job with these race cars. And again, I just don't know what else you can do. I don't know what else you can ask NASCAR to do. These cars are super, super safe for these race car drivers. And so, just think about that as we move forward and you have these discussions. Also, we have, a half a season left with this race car. Hopefully you'd always ask for the next gen car to be just as safe, if not safer than the cars we have now. I'm sure that'll be things they work in progress, but we don't know what the next gen car is going to look like at super speedways. Super speedways is really the only place we seem to have this problem where we start to question safety. The other 32 races, we could care less. It's these 4 races we have a year to where you really ask the question, is this safe? Is this probable? So, we'll see if that changes the style of plate racing with the next gen car. But again, just remember, these cars I think they're as safe as they can be. I just don't know what else you can do. I just don't know what else you can ask for. That's the only thing I could think of. How safe can race cars be? You're racing cars in the day. You sign those waivers. You sign that paperwork to volunteer to go 200 miles per hour at these racetracks every single week. So that's something I think you have to keep. There hasn't been a fatality in any of the top 3 series of 20-plus years. The car is safe as they can get without destroying the product. I would tend to agree. I think you always try to find more safety, but I just don't know where it's at. I don't know unless new invention comes up. I don't know where you find that at. So I agree. These cars are safer than the passenger cars we drive in every day to work. So it's one instance. It was crazy. Obviously, I think the bigger concern should be the spoiler and the ability for those cars to go upside down so quickly. That would probably be the bigger issue for me. Let's just work on the cars not flying in the air as quickly. Let's get the spoiler down. Let's get the spoiler down. There's no reason for the spoiler to be that freaking high. It's ridiculous. It looks goofy. It creates these wild and crazy runs and wrecks and all this kind of stuff. And also, listen, drivers contribute to this. Drivers are wild. We see drivers block and make stupid moves every single time we go to these racetracks. So that's something that you always have to consider. So with that being said, I'm going to roll out of here. Wanted to make it a quick night for everybody. I, like you, am a football fan and want to watch the NFL draft just like you do. Glad we were able to talk some racing. Go back and watch the video. Kept it within 20 minutes. So it'll be a nice, relaxing review if you want to go back and watch it. We talked a little bit of Talladega, a little bit of Kansas, and finished up with how safe can race cars be. So a little bit of discussion on the safety of these Cup Series cars and what we want to do moving forward. So appreciate everybody watching. Y'all have a great week. Everybody enjoy Kansas. I'll get to go see some dirt racing tomorrow night working at Lawrence County Speedway for the Ronnie Brookshire Memorial. We got the Ultimate Super Late Model Series coming into town. Going to be a fun night. And y'all have a good night. Dakota, appreciate you. Dagan, baby, love it. Favorite track on the schedule. TR, I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.